No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. We are now just days away until AEW's All In pay-per-view event. The AEW crew arrived in Cardiff, Wales for Dynamite. AEW also taped Collision. You can check out the spoilers if you're interested over at nodq.com. Dynamite aired in the United States on tape delay, but I'm here tonight to discuss the show since it was the go-home edition of Dynamite heading into the pay-per-view. We kicked it off with Mercedes Moné, the TBS champion, and Britt Baker, DMD, in a contract signing. For those of you that have followed my channel over the years, you know I'm not the biggest fan of the contract signings. It was every contract signing you've ever seen. They went back and forth on the mic a little bit. Mercedes called herself the future, said that Britt Baker is the past, and then Britt brought up how she was part of All In last year while Mercedes was there on crutches. And before the CEO, there was a DMD in AEW. Mercedes called Britt a loser. Crowd was chanting, "Shut the F up" at Mercedes. And then Mercedes questioned if Britt Baker was all in with wrestling because she has that degree as a backup. And Britt responded by saying it was never a plan B. She had two plan A's. She's the gold standard. While Mercedes was 1-4, Britt Baker was 1-1. One of one. Mercedes then continued to trash talk. Britt Baker continued to trash talk. Britt Baker said that Mercedes cares more about money than legacy. And part of the deal of this contract signing, they did sign the contract even though the match was already announced. Britt did say that she would not hit Mercedes. However, there was nothing that was stopping Mercedes from hitting the bodyguard Camille, which she did. And then she came off the table with a crossbody onto Camille, who was trying to protect Mercedes, and Mercedes got knocked down in the process. But technically, Britt Baker did not touch Mercedes Moné. Segment was fine. It was filler, but it added a little bit more heat to the match. It was okay. I'm just not a big fan of the contract signings. That's my own personal taste, but it was all right. We had Chris Jericho interviewed backstage, and he hyped up his match with the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington, who I believe is the nephew of the Dynamite Kid, the original Dynamite Kid. Jericho was talking crap, saying that this new Dynamite Kid, he's not as good as the original. And we had our match, Jericho versus the new Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington, in Cardiff, Wales. Tommy came out to Rule Britannia, which was the British Bulldogs' old theme song. Well, actually, the British Bulldogs' theme song back in the 80s. Match was fine. Tommy Billington's a good wrestler. Looks a lot like his uncle. Very small wrestler, though. Chris Jericho was never the biggest wrestler, and he looks like a giant standing next to Tommy Billington. But Tommy put up a good fight. He even got out of the walls of Jericho. He had some outside interference from the Bad Apple and Big Bill. And Tommy, unfortunately, he's young. He's a rookie. He took his eye off the prize. He went after the Bad Apple, and then he went up top, tried to finish off Jericho with the flying headbutt, which was one of his uncle's signature moves. But Jericho had enough time to counter it with a code breaker and got the 1-2-3 victory over a very game Tommy Billington. After the match was over, Chris Jericho cut a promo in the ring. He called Hook a stupid bastard. He said he would rip Hook apart if Hook was in Cardiff, England, which got a lot of heat from the fans when he said that. Hook, of course, was there. He showed up, but then Big Bill interfered, took a cheap shot, and Hook was left laying. Segment was fine. Your standard build-up for All In. We had a women's championship match on Dynamite. Toni Storm versus Saraya. Saraya getting a championship opportunity in the United Kingdom. The crowd, though, was fully behind Toni Storm. You had Saraya and Toni doing a little bit of a scream-off, screaming at each other back and forth. Then you had Harley Cameron, who was out there interfering on Saraya's behalf. Saraya did everything she could, unable to put away Toni. Toni made her come back, and then Harley got on the apron. Toni kissed her. Saraya accidentally hit Harley, knocked her off the apron, and then Toni gave Saraya a kiss, finished her off with the Storm Zero. Clean win for Toni Storm, successful title defense. Then we had Mariah May attacking Toni Storm with her shoe, leaving Toni Storm laid out once again and kissed her on the forehead and then gave her a hug. Very interesting. Now, I'm not going to give my predictions for anything tonight because I'm going to make you guys tune in for NoDQ.com predictions, which will be Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on the NoDQ YouTube channel. Make sure you guys tune in for that. I believe good old JM, Jeff Meacham, will be part of that panel. And I also want to do a quick plug. This is very rare for me. I will be going live not on the NoDQ.com YouTube channel, but rather Sun Goshiku's YouTube channel. That will be Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, which is 11 a.m. Pacific time. I will be on Sun Goshiku's YouTube channel to discuss the Bloodline. We are going to rank every single year of the Bloodline's history. And there is the link, youtube.com, and there you see the username, the spelling. Go there, check it out, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'll be going live with Sun to discuss the Bloodline. And then 8 o'clock Eastern predictions. Matthew, if you want in on predictions, let me know on Facebook and I will add you to the group. We had a long segment here with Will Ospreay and the American/international champion MJF. MJF came to the ring with a USA suit. He had the red, white, and blue. He was all decked out. We had a little promo face-off between these two. Crowd was firmly behind Ospreay. They were doing the Olay chant, but with Ospreay's name instead. Very hot crowd, as you would expect in the United Kingdom. Ospreay said he had to clean up MJF's mess, and then MJF responded by saying that the top people in AEW called him to come back early from injury so he could clean up Will Ospreay's mess. And Ospreay said he was told by Tony Khan to come to AEW and put on a good wrestling match because MJF couldn't. And Ospreay said he was there to restore the international title and also restore the feeling. Ospreay said he is the feeling. And MJF responded by saying that He's not the feeling, he is the facts. And yes, he only cares about winning, but who the hell is Will Ospreay? MJF said that Ospreay only has one move in his chamber, the Tiger Driver. And it's a fact that Will Ospreay is not man enough to pull the trigger. Then Ospreay said you can go all around the world, ask people who the best wrestler is, and they are going to say Will Ospreay. Not sure if that's true in the United States. They might say it's Roman Reigns, but who knows? Ospreay said that it took MJF 4 years to get over, while Ospreay, all he had to do was come out there, 4 beats of his music to get over. And that triggered MJF. MJF said the fans loved him until Ospreay showed up and ruined it, and that he got angry. He brought up Ospreay's wife, how he talked to Ospreay's wife, brought up how Ospreay is raising his wife's kid as his own. And from what MJF heard from Ospreay's wife, her next kid is also not going to be Ospreay's natural kid. So Ospreay then asked Tony Schiavone, how much is the fine to punch MJF? And apparently it was like $100,000 or pounds, whatever. And Ospreay said it was worth it. He punched MJF. Security came in. They tried to hold Ospreay back. And that's when MJF took a cheap shot with the Dynamite diamond ring, left him laying. Ospreay was bloodied up. MJF went for the Tiger Driver, but security stopped him, and MJF was escorted out of the area. It was a good segment, but I do think it ran longer than it needed to. It did feel like it was dragging for a while. They did the angle with the blood at the end. Ospreay, of course, wearing the white shirt. It was a good angle. I just think it went maybe a little bit too long. And the MJF deal where fans cared about him until Ospreay showed up. Well, when MJF returned, he got a big reaction. Just saying. We had Hangman Adam Page backstage. Apparently there was an incident, and now Adam Page is in the gauntlet match at All In, the Casino Gauntlet match. And then Evil Uno appeared and revealed that he was also in the gauntlet match, which Page did not appreciate. Page said he's going after anybody that gets in his way, so he beat up his former buddy, Evil Uno. Then we had Claudio versus Okada. Okada is the Continental champion, not the International champion. It's a different title. And apparently no outside interference is allowed with Continental Championship matches. They're trying to, have the integrity of the championship by not tarnishing it with outside interference. And I'm just wondering, well, wouldn't you want that for all the titles? Like, shouldn't all the titles have matches where outside interference is banned? Why is it just the Continental title where outside interference is banned? I think it's stupid personally. And this was a good match. One of Okada's better matches since he has officially signed with AEW. It was competitive back and forth, but it was one of those matches where they're doing the feeling out process early on, which tends to lead to a draw. Not always, but it usually ends up being a long match. They traded shots. They countered each other's big moves. And then Okada got a little bit arrogant. He flipped off the fans, and Claudio took advantage, did the big swing. He did 20 rotations of it. Match kept going, and then Okada was able to avoid the neutralizer. There was 1 minute left. The crowd actually booed this because they sensed that the draw was coming, I think. And Claudio did catch Okada with the uppercut, but Okada, he's the seasoned pro, grabbing the ropes, and Claudio tried to pull him back in the ring. Time limit expired, and no title change. The Young Bucks and Jack Perry showed up. They asked if the fans wanted 5 more minutes. You know how this goes. Fans said yes, and the Bucks said no. Not going to happen. They told Claudio to leave the ring. Claudio wasn't going to leave. He was ready to fight. He put his mouthpiece back in, but luckily for him, he got some backup. We had FTR and Darby Allin showing up, and we had a big brawl with everybody, and during the commercial break, things settled down. We had somewhat of a normal trios match, but then things broke down again, and we had FTR applying sharpshooters while Darby Allin applied the Scorpion Deathlock. I know they're the same move, but Darby doing a tribute to Brett, Darby doing a tribute to Sting, FTR doing a tribute to Brett. That's what I was going for there. And the Elite tried to leave. They tried to walk out with their titles, but they got stopped. And FTR did the Power and Glory. And then Darby Allin came off the top with the coffin drop and pinned, I believe, Matt, but it could have been Nick. The Bucks look so similar now. Like, I used to be able to tell them apart, but I feel like they almost look like twins at this point. I think it was Matt, though. I'm not entirely sure, nor does it really matter. FTR, Darby pick up a win to build some momentum heading into Sunday at All In. Then the Acclaimed showed up. They all talked, cut a promo. Time to nut up or shut up. It was fine. Standard promo. We then had Bryan Danielson confronting a bloody Will Ospreay backstage, and Bryan had just a few words. He said, "Do it. Do it." Which means he is signing off on Will Ospreay hitting the Tiger Driver, the move that Ospreay has felt so guilty about using because he hurt Bryan with it. Bryan gave him the blessing to do it, and I'm guessing we're going to see it at All In. Again, I'm not going to give my prediction on it. You all will have to tune in to the No DQ predictions video, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and don't forget, 2 p.m. that day, I will be on with Sun Goshuaku to discuss the Bloodline on his channel. So make sure you guys tune in for that. In case you missed it, there's the username to go to. Make sure you get the spelling right. I'll be on with him 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. All right, last plug for that. Let's get to the main event segment. Nigel McGuinness hosting it. He brought out the world champion Swerve Strickland. Strickland listed off all the guys he beat, including Will Ospreay, the guy who beat Bryan and hurt him in the first place. Swerve is a little bit pissed off that Bryan is already talking about retiring in his interviews, how he's ready to retire. Swerve said he's going to make sure Bryan isn't capable of getting back in the ring, and he plans on hurting Bryan really bad in front of Bryan's family. And at this point, Bryan came out there. He ran down. He took out Swerve with the running knee, and he cut a passionate promo on the mic. He said for the past 20 years, he's been the best effing wrestler in the world. It got bleeped out. He said he's going to leave his soul in the ring at All In. And then he asked the one question: can the American effing badass beat Swerve? And of course, the crowd went yes. Bryan said they know the answer, and Swerve knows the answer. Solid segment here. And yes, I do think that Swerve is the heel in this one, but I'm not so sure. This segment, this was the go home segment. Bryan got the upper hand here on the final show before the pay-per-view. I am intrigued by it. I thought that this was a good ending to the show. This was maybe the best thing of the entire show. Overall, it was a solid go-home show. I don't think it was a knockout of the park, but I did enjoy it. Good crowd. I give the show a B-. Pretty good episode of Dynamite. heading into All In. I'm looking forward to the show. I'm definitely intrigued by Swerve and Bryan, and that's the main event. So ultimately, that should be the match that I'm the most excited for, and I am. I think that match has the most intrigue. MJF and Osprey should be a very heated match. Should be awesome, but I do not think MJF's winning this one. I would be shocked if he did. Again, I'm not going to give my predictions. I'm kind of giving them slightly here, but we'll talk more about it. That was just a little preview. We'll talk more about it 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, Thursday night on the No DQ YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Shout out to everybody, good old JM, Matthew, Oofman, and everybody else in the chat room. Thank you all for your long-time viewership and support. NoDQ.com will keep you updated on everything regarding All In. Again, you can check out the Collision spoilers on NoDQ, and I will, of course, be doing the live results coverage Sunday afternoon, which should be a nice change of pace. I'm excited for that. Get the results on NoDQ.com, and then afterwards, I will be right here on the channel to discuss it. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy All In on Sunday. Say yes to NoDQ.com. Love you too, Calvin. Take care, everybody, and we will see you all next time.